Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, so we are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is Adi Lila, chapter. Wait a second, chapter 3. Chapter 3, the external reasons for Lord Chaitanya's appearance. And today's text 112. Okay, do we remember anything from the last discussion? Nobody's here. Tulsi Maharani, no, Tulsi Maharani was 2 weeks ago. Anything else? Yes.
Prabhupada, when we remember Prabhupada then think of it. Prabhupada is not a karma. He can do this because he is a pure devotee.
Prabhupada can do what?
When we remember Prabhupada, when devotee asked Prabhupada how will you,
Okay, but that was not the major point. That was some side discussion. What were the major points in relationship to the verse? Okay, yes, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you mentioned about last time when if we not do bhakti in living in this life, so then we then Krishna comes during the time of death, like he is the Kal.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Okay, so I'll just read one more time the last week's words and then we'll continue today further. They said, "O my Lord, you always dwell in the vision and hearing of your pure devotees. You also live in their lotus like hearts, which are purified by devotional service. O my Lord, who are glorified by exalted prayers, you show special favor to your devotees by manifesting yourself in the external forms in which they welcome you." Okay. So today, text 12. Eshlokera artakahi sankshepera sara bhaktera ichaya Krishnara sarva avatara. Translation, there is no purport. The essence of the meaning of this verse is that Lord Krishna appears in all his innumerable eternal forms because of the desires of his pure devotees. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Shalaka Chakshun Vitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Praya Krishna Vishnu Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharya Shesha Shrinivari Paschacharya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the essence of the meaning of this verse is that Lord Krishna appears in all his innumerable eternal forms. And what's this nonsense going on? Distractions, new distractions. Because of the desires of his pure devotees. Okay, so what we discussed last time is that Krishna is always manifested in devotees' hearts, lotus like hearts, because they're purified by devotional service. Of course, Krishna is manifested. Krishna is there in everyone's heart as Paramatma. But he is not necessarily manifested. Manifested means revealed. And why is that so? Because we don't want Krishna to be revealed. When our hearts are contaminated with lust, anger, greed, all the anarthas, that means this is something that is far more prominent than Krishna. So then how can Krishna manifest? This is what we were saying, that Krishna will manifest when all these anarthas are purified, when they're removed. Like we gave example. What example did we give? Anybody remembers? Krishna manifests when anarthas are removed. What was the example from Shastra? I mentioned it. Anybody knows? Think. Huh? Okay, well,
What was the Devaki?
Devaki, yes, Devaki. 6 sons of Devaki representing those anarthas. Removed. Then Balaram prepared the ground, and then Krishna appeared. No?
Yeah.
So this is when Krishna appears. And of course, he's always there. It's not that Krishna is not within the heart, but because we don't want him, that's why he's not manifested. We don't want Krishna to speak, so Krishna doesn't speak. But he's there, he's waiting. We know Dvasuparna. In actually 3 Upanishads and even in Srimad Bhagavatam, same example is given. So that means Mundaka, Kata, and I think maybe Kena is there. No, Shvetashvara, sorry. That's that example of 2 birds sitting on the same tree. Very important example, very essential for someone who studies Upanishad, understanding that there is always Jiva and Paramatma. It's not all one. There are 2. Yeah. And then, of course, in Srimad Bhagavatam, also same example is given in 11th canto. Very interesting. So, so Krishna is always there, but he's not manifested because we don't want him to be manifested. That means he's sitting just next to you, let's say, but you just completely ignore Krishna. You practically ignore him to such an extent that you're not aware that Krishna is there. This is how one becomes mad practically by lust, by anger, by greed, so deluded, so covered. No awareness absolutely that the best friend is just sitting next to us. So when that purification takes place, once we become purified from all these anarthas, then we start realizing, oh, Krishna is there. And then Krishna wants to come, Krishna wants to reciprocate, Krishna wants to relate to us. And therefore, he is manifesting himself for his pure devotees. And now in this verse today, we are hearing that he appears in innumerable forms. This is also very essential because we see how Krishna is personal. It's not like, many times people say, why so many religions? They're so confused. How many of you are confused? Why so many religions? Anyway, you're confused. So, do you have any answer? Did you ever think about what would be the answer? Why so many different? According to? Modes, okay. Close. It's not all the same. No, are there all the same grades? Are always the same different kinds of standards? All the standards are there the same, or there's so many varieties, so you have to accommodate for varieties. You can't just make everything the same because people will not be interested, no? You have to make Krishna consciousness available. What is Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita doesn't just talk about bhakti. It's not just bhakti. There is karma, there is jnana, there is yoga also. Of course, but in connection to bhakti. But those who don't know that it is in connection to bhakti, then they're interested. Okay, there's something for me. Karma. I want to know about do your duty. Jnana. Oh, I want to know about something on intellectual level. Yoga, maybe something about meditation or some exercise, whatever, this and that. So this is why Krishna is presenting the principles of religion in a very, very gradual manner to different kind of people so that they can also advance in spiritual life. Because if Krishna would just present bhakti, we know how bhakti is rare. Even I mean, if we think about bhakti, would we immediately be attracted just to pure bhakti? It would be just incomprehensible. Just something that would be so difficult to relate to. So then there is always something that it's in connection that we are attracted. And then in the course of time, I mean, I know when I started practicing bhakti, I didn't like quite some things about bhakti yoga, but some things I did like. So it depends. It's always like this. So I was attracted more to those things which are kind of in relationship to my conditionings, like prasadam and stuff like that, you know. And then later on, once you become purified, then you start relating, relishing everything else. So that's why it's not always just the same thing. It cannot be the same thing. It's not practical. It doesn't make sense. Krishna is way more intelligent than we are. He's just giving us so many different kinds of options. He knows how to attract us. He knows how to bring us closer. And it's not all just one fast train going somewhere or something. No, there are different options. There are different stops. There are different varieties. So Krishna is manifesting like this, the principles of religion. And then also, what is given here, Krishna is manifesting himself. This is why so many avatars, you know, why it's not just Krishna. Well, because some people like Ram, no? Some people like Vishnu, some people like Nrsimhadev, you know, some people like whatever. There's so many different varieties. So that's why to enhance that bhav, the devotion the devotees have towards Krishna. Actually, what happens, first of all, devotees draw from Krishna what they want to draw, whatever it's their position, whatever it's their relationship. And Krishna just manifests whatever they want. That's it. It's not that Krishna now creates something and he's in a particular way or form acting or whatever it is that. No, devotees, when okay, let's think of some examples in the scriptures. Who approached Krishna in a certain way and Krishna reciprocated accordingly. Maybe some of you can think about it. Can you think about some certain examples where Krishna, same Krishna, let's say not necessarily Krishna, but any other form, any other avatar. But when anyone approached in a particular way, Krishna would respond accordingly. Think about some examples. All the scriptures are filled with it. Think about it. Yes? Putana. Okay. Putana approached like a mother kind of, but then she didn't really have that pure bhav, that pure mentality. So Krishna accepted part of a mother, but he also reacted on the part of the asuric bhav of Putana, no? By killing her. Okay, what else? So Krishna was simultaneously reciprocating as a child and simultaneously was reciprocating kind of like as he would reciprocate towards any demon. No? Okay, any other example? Anybody? Yes? Draupadi means? To save devotees. Krishna always responds to devotees call like this, but like in a particular form, particular mood when Krishna was approached.
Mira.
What?
Mira.
What does this have to do with us? She's in Bhagavatam? No? Then? Anyway, yes.
Probably that one person from Ayodhya who acted like Krishna. He was like copying Krishna.
Ondraka, that was Kashi, that's a different thing. Okay, what about Prahlad Maharaj? When Nrsimhadev came, Nrsimhadev acted like a fire, like a big explosion towards Hiranyakashipu, and all the other demigods also, they were afraid. But then when Prahlad came, he became pacified. Just completely different bhav, completely different mood. Okay, these are some moods, but also a little more I want to hear about forms. Why particular form? Yes? Bali Maharaj. Okay, so what does that mean? But Bali approached someone. who approached Bali. Point is, when we approach Krishna, how does he respond? This time was a little bit the other way around. Matsya, what about, why did Matsya appear? Why did form of Matsya? Why did form of Kurma appear? Why did form of, which other forms we have? You know, it's like so many. Huh?
For Manu
Yes.
and Kurma for Devdas.
Kurma for Devatas, yes. Okay, something a little more personal. Okay, we know different rasas, no? We know different rasas.
Hare Krishna.
Madhurya, Vatsalya, Sakya, Dasya. So Krishna also responds according to those forms of rasa. He reciprocates in such a way. Okay, yes.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, there is a one mentioned in Krishna book. Once during the rasa, when Krishna Bhagavan was playing with, was along with the gopis, he took the form of Narayana, and the gopis began to search for Krishna.
Okay, so they were not interested in
Although
that.
he was yes, and then yes, then Krishna had to again come to back to his Krishna form.
Yeah, okay. So every living being like this has particular relationship with Krishna already. Is Hanuman interested in Krishna? Huh? No. No, he's not. Even there were sages of Dandakaranya. They saw Lord Ram and they were very attracted to Lord Ram. But then Ram said, not in this avatar. Next one. So they all became gopis, appeared as a gopis. So, like this. So Hanuman is not interested in Krishna. Hanuman is not interested so much in, I don't know, Narayana or something. He's interested in Lord Ram. He has particular relationship. Ram, Ram, Ram. He can't live without Ram. There is a story, again, in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Who is Hanuman in Chaitanya Charitamrita? Who knows? Anybody knows? Huh? Raise your hand. Don't speak anything. Who is Hanuman? I think I already said that sometimes, not so long ago. Okay. Murari Gupta. So what happened with Murari Gupta? Who knows the story? Okay, Bolo. And then I'm giving them the chance.
Hare Krishna. Once some Prabhuji joked with Gupta Prabhuji ki you have to stop chanting Ram Nam.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was.
Yes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji. And although it was a joke, Hanuman Prabhuji got how could I live without Ram without saying Ram Nam?
Okay, something.
That's all.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was pointing that everybody's chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and everybody's worshipping Krishna. Then how come you're so attached to this Ram? Just from tomorrow you should worship Krishna also. That's why. And then Murari Gupta was like, how can I leave Ram? The whole night he couldn't sleep. He couldn't live. He was just in such an anxiety, such a depression. And then next day when he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again, he said, I just can't give up Ram. I just can't. It's just impossible. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled, embraced him and said, don't worry. You don't have to give up Ram. Because actually in your original Swarup, you're Hanuman. So it's not necessary that we all have to worship only one particular form of Krishna or something. That depends. If we have that kind of relationship with Krishna, then we'll be attracted to that particular form of Krishna. This is what it's stated here. And that's why Krishna reciprocates. It's not just only one kind of thing or form or whatever, activity, rasa. No, there's so many varieties. Because we also have various kinds of nature, spiritual nature. So when that becomes clear, as we said earlier, once we clean all these anarthas, then it will just become self-evident, completely self-evident. What is our position? Who is it that it's our worship of the Lord? Sometimes you have like what is known Ishta Devata, no? Family Guru or something, or family Devata or something. But this is in relationship to material position. What is our real devata that will become manifested once we purify all the negative qualities. Okay, any questions on this? Go to the next verse. Any comments, something? Okay, somebody raised their hand.
I wrote in the chat, like you said.
I'm sorry?
I wrote in the chat box.
Okay, I wrote. Okay, somebody said Gajendra. Okay, do we acquire the power of the devotee guru who gives us bhakti, or rather who awakens our bhakti? Not necessary. There is a story of Hriday Chaitanya. That's one story. He was in different bhava and rasa than Shamananda. And then there is a story in Jaiva Dharma. There was one guru who had two disciples, and they were in different bhavas. One was in Madhurya and another one was in Sakya. So it doesn't matter. So it's not necessary that we have to acquire the bhava of the guru. Guru can guide us, Guru can be a medium to the certain level of purification also. It's not necessarily an eternal level. Yeah, it's a little bit complex topic, but my answer is not necessary. Okay? Just like in general now we worship Krishna also. We worship till the level when it just becomes clear, very clear, what then our position is, what is our swarupa. Okay, next verse. There are no purports here, but anyway, just read through them. And we will end the chapter. Thus I have surely determined the meaning of the fourth verse. Lord Gauranga, Lord Chaitanya appeared as an incarnation to preach unalloyed love of God. Okay. And then next one. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, who is desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Anyway, the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu we already described in detail a lot earlier when we were discussing this beginning of this chapter. So now we are starting chapter 4. These are the deep confidential reasons for the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there were 3 external reasons, and now they will be described 3 internal confidential reasons. So whatever Krishna appears, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears, there are always different kinds of purposes. There are internal purposes, there are external purposes. Krishna is known to be fulfilling so many different reasons for his appearance, for his appearance. So let's hear here. This is summary. In this chapter of the epic Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has stressed that Lord Chaitanya appeared for the 3 principal purposes of his own. The first purpose was to relish the position of Srimati Radharani. Maybe you can write this down, somebody who's writing. That would be nice. And it's like very intimate and it's confidential. It's a good meditation. So the first purpose was to relish the position of Srimati Radharani, who is the prime reciprocator of the transcendental love of Sri Krishna. Lord Krishna is the reservoir of transcendental loving transactions with Srimati Radharani. The subject of those loving transactions is the Lord himself, and Radharani is the object. Thus, the subject, the Lord, wanted to relish the loving mellow in the position of the object, Radharani. So Krishna wanted to experience what Radharani's experience. Wanted to relish that position. Okay. Well, okay, let's be more precise. Just he wanted to be in that position. That's the first thing. Krishna wanted to be in position of Radharani. So he's the subject, but he wanted to experience what is object experience in relationship to the subject. Usually, what does it mean, subject? We know Purusha and Prakriti, right? Purusha means one, let's say, this book is an object and I'm moving the book, or I'm opening the book, reading the book. Of course, by reading, I can relish the book. So subject and the object. Okay, the second reason for his appearance was to understand the transcendental mellow of himself. Lord Krishna is all sweetness. Radharani's attraction for Krishna is sublime. And to experience that attraction and understand the transcendental sweetness of himself, he accepted the mentality of Radharani. Well, this is interesting. I said Radharani's attraction for Krishna is sublime. And to experience that attraction and understand the transcendental sweetness of himself, he accepted the mentality of Radharani. So Krishna wanted to understand what is that attraction that Radharani is experiencing. And the third reason is that Lord Chaitanya appeared was to enjoy the bliss tasted by Radharani. Okay, they're all a little subtle. The Lord thought that undoubtedly Radharani enjoyed his company, and he enjoyed the company of Radharani. But the exchange of transcendental mellow between the spiritual couple was more pleasing to Radharani than to Sri Krishna. Radharani felt more transcendental pleasure in the company of Krishna than he could understand without taking her position. But for Sri Krishna to enjoy it in the position of Srimati Radharani was impossible, because that position was completely foreign to him. Krishna is transcendental male and Radharani is a transcendental female. Therefore, to know the transcendental pleasure of loving Krishna, Lord Krishna himself appeared as Lord Chaitanya, accepting the emotions and bodily luster of Srimati Radharani. Okay, so we will repeat this now. So first one is to relish the position of Radharani. Second one is to understand Radharani's attraction. How come Radharani is attracted? So once you become attracted, then what is it that you relish? That's the third one. What is that bliss once you start relishing? So position, attraction, and what happens when you start relishing something. So these three things Krishna wanted to relish. Any question about this? Usually there's always some question. Just recently I'm just hearing some lectures of Satsvarup Maharaj. So he was saying that some lady in the West, she knew something about Krishna, so then she asked one question in relationship to this. Here nobody's asking any questions. No?
I'm not getting the exact meaning of transcendental.
Transcendental means outworldly, spiritual. To transcend, to overcome material anything. So it's beyond something that is conditioned.
Beyond materialism.
Beyond materialism, yes. Materialism.
There is no place of materialism in transcendental.
Yes. Yes. Huh? No, but yes.
Probably aren't they all three the same?
Are
Almost same. It's like enjoying.
that's what I said, they're subtle, but they're not the same. They're not the same, they're very much different also.
Probably it just looks like a same.
Wait a second, that's not the question I've been looking for. And it doesn't matter now. Wait, that you will hear. Patience, we'll discuss it. Okay, what that lady asked, it's usually what most of the people do ask. I also asked that question. And it wasn't, okay, it's a question, but it wasn't an overly intelligent question, but it's a question which appears quite often. And the question was that how come if Krishna is absolute and he doesn't know something? That is the question, no? Because then how come he doesn't know what Radharani is feeling? No? Radha, practically he is the source also of Radharani. Of course, they're inseparable, energetic and energy, sun and sunshine, whatever it's like. So how come Krishna doesn't know? That's usually the question. How come Krishna wouldn't know what is Radharani experiencing? What is she feeling? What is that attraction? So what is, anybody has an answer? Krishna is the absolute and he doesn't know something. How is that? You want to try?
Krishna knows, but he wants to release the position of Radharani. Because he also seen in the Jagannath Katha that Krishna, when he sees the mood of Radharani, the chariot from the Dwarka, the Balramji, Subhadra Devi and Krishna came, and they form in the existence. So Krishna wants to know that position. He wants to release the transcendental smell of Radharani have to Krishna.
Not exactly, but good try. It's a pretty good try. Because pastimes of Krishna, already Krishna knows his own pastimes. He was hearing about his own pastimes. That's why he assumed that form. But this is from someone else's perspective. Yes.
You yesterday said that it's like a better half.
Don't worry, don't bring that now. That has nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with that. That's on the material level. In spiritual level, it's a whole different perception. Don't mix that. Okay, want to hear the answer?
Yes.
Okay, the answer is that Krishna knows, like, let's say, we may say, you may know the content of something. Now we have those buckets there with prasadam, and we can put the label. This prasadam is of that color, that shape, those ingredients, what else, I don't know, molecules, states, I don't know, you can go in any kind of depth analyzing what it is. But will that help you really understand what that substance inside is? You may know about it, but yes, taste. You really have to. You really want to taste. But sometimes also, it can be some prasadam, but not all the prasadam. Let's say, even though it might be the same prasadam, but it's not always the same taste. No, it may taste different. Let's say, you may have same rasgulla, but it's not always. Rasgullas don't always taste the same also. They might taste different. Depends who makes them and quality of the ingredients also and whatever. So many different things. Fire, that, whatever they were made on and so forth and so forth. But that's not the point. It's, you may understand something intellectually, but emotionally there's a difference. So there is a difference between tattva and there is a difference between rasa. So what is more important in spiritual life? Tattva or rasa? Tattva means position, tattva means knowledge, understanding. Rasa means experience. So what is more important in spiritual life? Tattva or rasa?
Probably you're gonna try.
No, I'm focusing here. Huh? Huh? What is more important? Think about what we're talking about. Yes, rasa. I don't know. I'm not trying to confuse now, but yes, rasa. That's what we're discussing. Krishna thinks this is more important. That's why he's assuming the position of Srimati Radharani. That's what later on, or even earlier, I don't know when it's going to be said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it said that Radharani enjoyed thousands of millions of times more than Krishna. When they are together, Radharani enjoyed so much more than Krishna. And that's why Krishna is wondering, maybe I should be in that position. Why should I be in my position? It's like what. So she's experiencing more. So then only foolish people want to be Krishna. Because Krishna doesn't want to be Krishna. No. It's Like, of course, that's a different thing. Now, that goes so far to the point of discussing Mayavad philosophy now, but that's what I'm not going to do. But it's not so wonderful to be Krishna. It's of course being Krishna for Krishna, whatever. That's his position. But it's more wonderful to relish Krishna. That's more wonderful. That's why it is said, Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayur Dasa Dasa Anudasa. What does that mean now? Again, foolish people want to go ahead and directly associate with Krishna. But that's not our sampradaya. Our sampradaya is be a servant of the servant of the servant, 1,000 times removed. And that's explained why. Because first of all, we don't have capacity to directly associate with Krishna. We're so insignificant. It said like you put one mustard seed next to Himalaya. But what can one mustard seed? But if you have another Himalaya next to Himalaya, and then so many other mustard seed in the line and everything, then you experience whatever they experience so many times multiplied. So you experience what Radharani is experiencing, what gopis are experiencing, everything. Otherwise, you only experience your mustard seed experience, that's all. But if you're in a line of so many others, you do experience whatever they experience. That's why it said, like example is given of Tulsi. When Tulsi is a little bit shaken, what shakes the most? What is experiencing the most vibrations? Tulsi plant. When Tulsi plant is a little bit shaken, what happens? What is vibrating the most?
It's
Leaves, wrong, wrong. What's that called on the top? Flower. We talked about Tulsi, but now we're mentioning something else. No. Well, manjaris. It's called manjaris. Yeah, the seeds. Manjaris. So manjaris are not directly with Krishna. Manjaris are associating with Krishna or relating to Krishna, but after the gopis. Sometimes there is some, but in general they don't. They avoid it themselves. Only if Krishna desires for some reason or whatever. So it's always behind the gopis. It's always behind the manjaris there. And it's always behind the acharyas. It's always behind the gurus. That should be the mood. That should be the attitude. And then you can experience so much more. What do we know? First of all, we have no idea how to associate with Krishna. We have no idea how to serve Krishna. We don't know what we were discussing here earlier. We don't know how to draw from Krishna anything. Because we don't know how to act. We are not qualified. None of these things. So, but when we follow in Guru Parampara, and they draw from Krishna, and then we are in the line, then we get so much more. And we are not, as I said, even qualified. So, but when we follow in Guru Parampara, then we get so much, then we can relish Krishna. And that relishing Krishna is so much more, of course, not in our case, but in case of Srimati Radharani. That's so much more. That's why we actually want to position ourselves not so much behind Krishna, but behind Srimati Radharani. We are actually Shaktas. We worship the Shakti. Who is the topmost Shakti? Radharani, yes. So we actually worship Radharani because without her mercy you can't get Krishna. That's why we align behind Radharani. But you don't get Radharani also directly. You can't just Radha this and that. Prabhupada never proved this. And Hare Krishna, but we follow in Guru Parampara. By the mercy of spiritual master, then we can get access to Srimati Radharani, and then by her mercy we can get access to Krishna. That's how it works. So that's why Krishna theoretically knew. I mean, it's again another point. You can't say that at some point of time Krishna didn't know anything, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, we won't say incarnation because he's avatari, he's not avatari. But he's eternal, no? So as Krishna, you may say that he might not know, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is eternal, so he always knows. He always knows. He always knows what is that taste, what is that rasa, what is that relationship. So he knows. But anyway, for us to understand philosophically this, then we have to make the distinction, what is tattva, what is rasa. So from that point of view, we may say, okay, Krishna understood it, but he didn't really experience it. And then to experience it, that's that rasa, that's that mellow, with which he wanted to expand himself and understand what is Radharani's position. Yes?
That way, can we say Krishna as a tattva and Radharani as a rasa? Or Krishna as a macro level and Radharani as a micro level?
No. That second one is not right. Well, both have. That refers to dealings, to relationships. So you can't apply that to personalities. You can't apply that to personalities. It can both can be used for either situation. Okay, one second. There's some questions here. Okay, this. Okay, there's some. One second. How come Krishna as Paramatma not know Radharani's attraction for him? Well, again, that's what we discussed now. He knows, but he cannot understand its fullness, its completeness. He can understand theoretically, but he cannot understand emotionally. Okay, so we answered that. This question about the mind, anyway, I'll answer in regard to the subject. Well, then we have to hear more about Krishna, be attracted to Krishna, and then mind will be focused on Krishna. It won't be wandering. Okay, anything else? Or we continue? So now this in the summary, we read these three reasons. Position of Radharani, attraction, why is it so sublime? How come she's so attracted? And then what she relishes once she's interacting with Krishna. Okay. So Lord Chaitanya appeared in order to fulfill this confidential desire and also to preach the special significance of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, and to answer the call of Adbhuta Prabhu. These were secondary reasons. Okay, so now we hear what we discussed in previous chapter. These were secondary reasons to answer the call of Adbhuta Prabhu, to preach Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and also he came to teach us how to be a devotees, how to qualify us, how to relish this special pastimes. So we can understand what is our position, how really, amazingly fortunate we are that we have such an access towards such an intimate and deep pastimes of Krishna. How rare this is. You go throughout the world, you travel, what conceptions of religion, God, anything people have. Where is anything so sweet, so deep, so detailed like that? Who has that? And then what are people busy with? They're busy with all kinds of mundane, boring, and then trivial and sinful things. And we have been given such a fortune. It's just inconceivable. Inconceivable. Of course, without being qualified, that's even better. Such an incredible thing. And then, even then, sometimes we receive this and we are not serious. That's the biggest problem. So it's amazing what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give. That's why it is said that he and Lord Nityananda came to open that floodgate from the store of the love of Godhead. Just fully, just without any reservation, without any qualification, expecting any qualification, just flooding the world with this Krishna Prema. So that's amazing. So we should appreciate to some extent, at least we should remind ourselves like this. What an amazing thing we have been given. So at least we should have some gratitude. Srila Svatsvarup Damodar Goswami was the principal figure among Lord Chaitanya's confidential devotees. The records of his diary have revealed his confidential purposes of the Lord. His revelations have been confirmed by the statements of Srila Rupa Goswami in his various prayers and poems. So this is what the Chaitanya Charitamrita is based upon. It's based upon majorly two diaries. One was Murari Gupta's diary, and one was, here was mentioned, Swarup Damodar Goswami, who was personal assistant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Of course, he was, we know, Lalita Sakhi. And she was also like Gadadhar Pandit, and Ramananda Rai, Vishakha. They were always guiding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What is that mood of Radharani? Because they know that mood. So to kind of tune Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in to understand really, to be able to relish that mood of Radharani. So they were always assisting. So they wrote those diaries of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and this is what has been used. This is what has been given in this Chaitanya Charitamrita. I mean, really, now we are discussing. I said in the beginning earlier when we started these classes, these are deep subjects. It's not like some kind of ordinary discussion on religious topics or this and that, whatever. This is really, really confidential. So how to understand these? It does take some qualification, some purity. It's not easy. But again, even without that, we are so fortunate we are presented with it. So this chapter also specifically describes the difference between lust and love. Okay, so that's going to be described. The transactions of Krishna and Radha are completely different from material lust. Therefore, the author has very clearly distinguished between them. Okay, so I will stop here because now the verses are started of this new chapter. I guess we can do that next time. We have maybe 2-3 minutes. Anybody wants to inquire about anything in relationship what we discussed today? Yes.
So, somebody asked that Krishna is Paramatma. So, in spiritual world, Paramatma is there.
I answered that. You didn't listen. In spiritual world, there is no Paramatma. Paramatma is the only manifestation of Kshirodakashaya Vishnu in this material world. So now what happens to Paramatma? Where does he go? What happens to Paramatma? When Jiva goes to spiritual world, then what happens to Paramatma? Where does Paramatma go? Old age home? Where does Paramatma go? What happens to Paramatma? What are you doing now? It's like what happens to Paramatma? What happens? Anyway, where does Paramatma go?
New material.
New material, no. Maybe Paramatma gets new assignment. Maybe so many jivas keep on coming to material world. So what happens to Paramatma? No, Paramatma merges in Vishnu. Purushavatars, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. What are you doing here? Who said this? Who are you? Who said this? Trying to answer the question. See, focus. I can't believe it. Every time there's some distraction in these classes. So anyway, Paramatma, there is no Paramatma in the spiritual world. No. There's no Paramatma in the spiritual world. Devotees are in Krishna's heart, and Krishna is in devotee's heart. But that's not like Paramatma. It's like in your thoughts. You may be now thinking about someone, right? So he's in your heart. That person is in your heart. So therefore, like when it said Krishna left Vrindavan, Krishna never left Vrindavan. Where was Krishna? It was in the heart of gopis. He was always there. And now, how to understand that Krishna is within the heart or it's not within the heart? That's too deep. That's like very, very transcendental. You can't say even subtle. That's very transcendental. But there is no difference. Because in your thoughts, in your mind, you're always there with Krishna, and Krishna is always with you. That's why gopis were never separated from Krishna. Anyway, time is up. We discussed. Okay, what now?
So, and what about mind? Mind is there in spiritual.
Mind is, which mind is there in spiritual?
Material
Whose mind?
Or
Our mind. We have our mind. You have spiritual mind, not material mind. There's a difference. Okay. Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yeah, after that. Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ki Jai. Prabhupada Ki Jai.